The morning started like any other on Earth. People went to work, children played in parks, and ships moved through the oceans. Nobody saw death coming from the stars. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, Earth's military command center on the moon. She held her morning coffee and looked at the blue planet below. Her daughter had just sent a message from Tokyo about getting into medical school. Sarah smiled, thinking about calling her later. Then the alarm started screaming. "Commander, we have multiple objects dropping from hyperspace." Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cracked with panic. 50? No, 100. "Commander, they're still coming!" Sarah's coffee mug shattered on the floor. The tactical display showed red dots appearing around Earth like angry wasps. 300 alien ships hung in space, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. "Send the first contact protocols," Sarah ordered, though her stomach twisted with dread. "All frequencies." "We're transmitting, but they're not responding," Rodriguez said. "Wait. They're moving." There. The first kinetic strike hit New York. From the moon, it looked like a small flash of light. Then Los Angeles. Then London, Beijing, Mumbai, Moscow. Each strike was a metal rod dropped from orbit, moving at incredible speed. When they hit, entire cities turned to fire and dust. Sarah couldn't move. She watched Earth burn. The blue marble she'd looked at every morning for 3 years turned orange with flames. The clouds themselves caught fire. 2 billion people died in the first hour, turned to ash before they knew what killed them. "Why?" someone whispered behind her. "We didn't even know they existed." Earth's defense satellites tried to fight back. Laser platforms that had protected the planet from asteroids turned toward the alien fleet. The aliens swatted them away with energy beams that cut through titanium like paper. Earth's first space battleships, humanity's pride, launched from Mars orbit to help. They exploded before firing a single shot. Then came the message. Every screen on Luna Base, every radio on Earth, every communication device still working received the same transmission. The aliens appeared on screen, tall creatures with gray skin and 6 eyes arranged in a circle around their heads. When they spoke, translation software somehow understood them perfectly. "Your species has been judged too dangerous to exist," the alien said. Its voice sounded like grinding stone. "We are the Zarathi Empire. We have protected this galaxy for 10,000 years. You humans spread too fast. You learn too quickly. You are a virus that must be removed." The image changed to show Earth from space burning. "Surrender for quick termination or resist for slow extinction. You have 1 hour to decide." The transmission ended. Sarah stood in the silent command center. Her staff looked at her with hollow eyes. Earth continued to burn below them. Her daughter was dead. Tokyo was gone. Everything she'd sworn to protect had turned to ash in minutes. "Commander," Rodriguez said quietly, "Earth's emergency leadership is calling. They're in the bunkers. They want to know what Luna Base recommends." Sarah thought about her daughter, about the billions dead, about the aliens who killed them without even trying to talk first. Her hand stopped shaking. Her tears dried. Something cold and hard settled in her chest where her heart used to be. "Tell them we recommend they respond," she said. "What should we say?" Rodriguez asked. "One word. No." General Marcus Webb sat 500 feet under the Rocky Mountains when Earth gave its answer. The old soldier had seen war, but nothing like this. The bunker around him held what remained of Earth's government. 50 people trying to coordinate the survival of the human species. "They'll kill us all," someone said after. Earth's response was sent. "They'll kill us anyway," Webb replied. "But they made one mistake." "What mistake?" "They destroyed everything." Webb pulled up a display showing the alien positions. "They think we're beaten. They think humans will curl up and die. They don't know what we really are." Reports came in from around the world. The kinetic strikes had destroyed the major cities, but humanity was spread across the entire planet. Small towns survived, underground facilities remained intact, and more importantly, humans in space, on Mars, on Europa, in the asteroid belt. They were all still alive. "Begin Protocol 7, Webb ordered. Protocol 7 was Earth's doomsday plan. If the planet fell, if everything seemed lost, humanity would survive through any means necessary. Every human would become a soldier. Every resource would go to revenge. Every thought would focus on making the enemy pay. The Zarathi ships moved into Earth's atmosphere. Drop pods fell like rain, each one carrying alien soldiers. They expected to find survivors begging for mercy. They found something else. In the ruins of Chicago, a 10-year-old boy named David watched his parents die when the aliens landed. He hid in a collapsed subway tunnel with 30 other survivors. When the Zarathi patrol walked past, David threw the Molotov cocktail he'd made from cleaning supplies. The aliens' advanced armor couldn't stop simple fire. They burned, their screams echoing through dead streets. In China, farmers who'd never held guns learned to build bombs from fertilizer. In Russia, babushkas who'd survived one war prepared for another, teaching young people how to kill with kitchen knives. In Brazil, children collected alien technology from dead soldiers, not understanding it but knowing it was important. The Zarathi expected organized military resistance they could crush. They didn't expect every human to become their enemy. They didn't expect the elderly to attack them with canes. They didn't expect children to poison their food supplies. They didn't expect mothers to blow themselves up just to kill a single alien soldier. Sarah Chen watched from Luna Base as Earth fought with the fury of the dying. But she wasn't watching anymore, she was planning. The moon base had fabrication facilities. They had raw materials from lunar mining. They had 3,000 personnel who'd just watched their world burn. "Start building," she ordered. "Everything. Weapons, ships, drones. I don't care if it's ugly or crude. If it can hurt them, build it." "Commander, we can't fight that fleet with what we have here," an engineer protested. "We're not going to fight them," Sarah said, her voice cold as lunar night. "We're going to teach them what happens when you wake a sleeping monster. We're going to teach them about human spite." The Mars colonies sent a coded message, "Playing dead. Building fleet. Give us time." Europa Station reported, "Underwater facilities intact. Beginning Operation Kraken." The asteroid miners sent just 2 words, "Making weapons." The Zarathi commander, Vakros of the Third Eye, stood on his command ship watching Earth burn. The planet was broken. Its people were dying. In a few cycles, humans would be extinct. Supreme One. His subordinate approached carefully. "The resistance is stronger than expected. We've lost 300 ground troops. From their military? No, Supreme One, from everyone. Children throw burning bottles. Elderly humans attack with primitive weapons. They don't surrender even when mortally wounded." Vakros turned his 6 eyes to the subordinate. "Impossible. A beaten species always surrenders." "Not humans, Supreme One. They seem to get more dangerous when cornered." Vakros dismissed this concern. What could a broken species do against the might of the Zarathi Empire? They had no fleet. No weapons that could hurt the occupation force. No hope. He was wrong. In hidden bunkers across Earth, scientists studied every piece of alien technology they could find. In space, humans built weapons with the fury of the damned. And in every human heart, a single thought grew like poison. The Zarathi would pay. Not in years, not in decades, but starting now and continuing until the last star burned out. Earth had responded with one word: no. But what it really meant was, "You've made the worst mistake in the history of the galaxy. You've taught humanity how to hate." 6 months had passed since the sky burned. 6 months since the Zarathi Empire turned Earth into a graveyard. But graveyards, the aliens were learning, could be dangerous places. Dr. Yuki Tanaka had once worked in Tokyo's finest research laboratory. Now she worked in a cave system under Mount Fuji, surrounded by stolen alien technology and powered by geothermal energy. Her team of 20 scientists hadn't seen sunlight in half a year. They'd forgotten what fresh air tasted like. But they remembered their dead. "Look at this," Yuki said, holding up a piece of Zarathi technology no bigger than her fist. Their FTL drives work by folding space. Beautiful design. Elegant. But they made it too elegant. Her assistant, Peter, a former MIT student who'd lost his entire family in the Boston strike, leaned closer. "What do you mean?" "They never thought someone would weaponize it. The containment field, if you reverse the polarity and remove the safety protocols, the whole thing becomes a bomb. A bomb that could crack a moon." Peter's eyes went wide. "How many of these do we have?" "From dead Zarathi ships? About 300. But here's the better part." Yuki pulled up a hologram on their jury-rigged computer. "Human brains are different from Zarathi. They have 6 eyes but process information in sequence. We process in parallel. When I connected myself to their navigation system..." "You did what?" Peter almost shouted. That could have killed you. It didn't. It showed me something incredible. We can interface with their technology in ways they never imagined. We can make it do things they never designed it to do. We can turn their own weapons against them. Above ground, the Zarathi occupation force was learning that controlling Earth was harder than destroying it. Commander Thax stood in what used to be Paris, reading casualty reports that made no sense. Another patrol missing in the subway tunnels, his lieutenant reported. That makes 15 this week. Send drones to find them. We did. The drones don't come back either. Thax's 6 eyes focused on different parts of the ruined city. Humans were supposed to be broken. They'd lost their civilization, their technology, their hope. But every day more Zarathi died, not in grand battles but in small vicious attacks. Yesterday a human child, had walked up to a checkpoint with a basket of food. The Zarathi soldiers had laughed at the primitive offering. The explosion killed 8 of them. The child's body was never found. The humans had dug escape tunnels everywhere. In the American Midwest, farmers had turned their knowledge of chemistry into weapons. Fertilizer bombs destroyed Zarathi vehicles. Crop dusters sprayed acid that ate through alien armor. When the Zarathi burned the farms in retaliation, the farmers poisoned their own soil so nothing would grow for the occupiers. Supreme Commander, Thax called his superior in orbit. I need more troops. More troops? Vakro sounded disbelieving. You have 50,000 soldiers for a broken planet. The planet isn't broken. The humans. They don't stop. When we kill one, 10 more take their place. When we destroy a resistance cell, 3 new ones appear. They're teaching their children to make bombs in basements, then kill the children. We try. They hide them. And when we find them, Thax paused, remembering the incident in Berlin. A grandmother killed 12 soldiers with a kitchen knife to protect orphans. 12, Supreme Commander. She was 80 years old. But the real surprise was coming from space. On Mars, hidden under red dust and false signals, humanity's second world was building its revenge. The Mars colonies had convinced the Zarathi they were destroyed in the first days of the invasion. In reality, they'd gone dark, running silent, working without rest. Colonel Jack Morrison commanded what everyone called the Ghost Fleet. In massive underground factories, automated systems worked around the clock. They weren't building beautiful ships. They weren't building according to any normal design philosophy. They were building weapons that only needed to work once. How many do we have? Morrison asked his production chief. 8,000 so far. Small, fast, ugly as sin. But each one can take out a capital ship if it gets close enough. Make it 15,000. I don't care if they're held together with duct tape and prayers. The production chief, a woman who'd lost her husband and children to the Zarathi, smiled grimly. They'll fly, Colonel. And they'll kill. The Mars factories weren't just building ships. They were building something new. A hybrid of human engineering and stolen Zarathi technology. Humans had always been good at taking things apart and putting them back together wrong. Now they were doing it with alien technology. On Europa, under miles of ice, another surprise was growing. The underwater colony had survived the invasion intact. The Zarathi hadn't even known it existed. Now Dr. Susan Blake was turning the entire moon into a weapon. The Zarathi communicate using quantum entanglement, she explained to her team. Very advanced. Very secure. But they never encrypted it properly because no other species could tap into it. Well, guess what? Humans just figured it out. We can listen to their communications, someone asked. Better. We can inject our own messages. We can make them think their own command is giving orders. We can drive them insane with conflicting information. We can make them shoot at each other. Back on Earth, the resistance was evolving. What started as random attacks became coordinated warfare. Resistance cells that had never met were working together, united by hatred and ham radios. In Russia, a former ballet teacher named Natasha led midnight raids on Zarathi supply depots. She taught her fighters to move silently, to kill quickly, to leave messages written in alien blood. For our children. In Australia, Aboriginal trackers who knew the land better than any satellite taught survivors how to disappear into the outback. The Zarathi would send patrols into the desert. They'd find the patrols weeks later, dead from traps that used no technology at all, just ancient knowledge of the land. In Japan, the resistance had turned origami into a weapon. Paper cranes appeared everywhere the Zarathi went. each one containing a tiny amount of thermite. When 1,000 cranes gathered in a Zarathi facility, the entire building would burn. The Zarathi tried to adapt. They tried terror. When they caught resistance fighters, they executed them publicly. The humans responded by broadcasting the names of the martyrs on every frequency, turning them into heroes. Children sang songs about them. Their faces were painted on ruined walls. They tried negotiation. They offered food and medical supplies in exchange for cooperation. The humans took the supplies and used them to build more bombs. They tried total destruction. They burned entire cities where resistance was strong. The survivors just spread out, carrying their hatred to new places. Commander Sarah Chen watched it all from Luna Base, but she wasn't just watching anymore. The moon had become humanity's secret weapon. Using lunar materials and salvaged Zarathi technology, they'd built something impossible, a mass driver that could launch projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. First test is ready, her weapons officer reported. Target? The Zarathi supply station at Lagrange Point 2. Sarah nodded. The station was small, unimportant, but its destruction would send a message. The mass driver fired. A chunk of lunar rock, wrapped in salvaged Zarathi shields and moving at 10% the speed of light, crossed the void in seconds. The supply station didn't explode, it simply ceased to exist. On every Zarathi ship, alarms screamed. Luna Base, which they'd dismissed as neutralized, had just demonstrated it could reach out and touch them. But the real shock came when they tried to respond. Their ships turned toward the moon, weapons charging. Then their navigation systems went haywire, their communications filled with human voices. The recorded screams of dying children from the first attack, played on endless loop Dr. Tanaka's virus, uploaded through captured Zarathi technology, had just gone active in a third of their fleet. The Zarathi Empire had ruled for 10,000 years. They'd conquered 100 species. They'd never lost a war. They'd also never fought humans before. Humans who turned suffering into rage. Humans who could reverse engineer technology while bleeding. Humans who taught their children to hate before teaching them to read. Humans who would rather die killing than live surrendering. 6 months after the invasion, the Zarathi still controlled Earth's skies. But they were learning a terrible truth. They didn't control Earth. And in the darkness between stars, humanity's revenge was taking shape. The Ghost Fleet was almost ready. Operation Locust would begin soon. The Zarathi thought they were occupiers. They were about to learn they were prisoners, trapped on a world where every human was their enemy. While above them, the children of Earth prepared to remind the galaxy why humans were considered too dangerous to exist. They were about to learn they were right. The message came at Oro 300 hours, Luna Standard Time. Every human still alive, whether in bunkers on Earth or stations scattered across the solar system, received it simultaneously. This is Colonel Morrison, Ghost Fleet Command. Operation Locust begins in 72 hours. Remember our dead. No mercy. Sarah Chen stood in Luna Base's command center, now transformed into humanity's war room. The screens showed thousands of tiny dots rising from Mars, each one a ship no bigger than a school bus. They weren't pretty. Some were literally held together with welded metal strips, but each one carried death. The Zarathi detected them immediately. Supreme Commander Vakros watched his tactical display with confusion. What are these things, debris? Negative, Supreme One, his sensor operator replied. They're ships. Primitive ones. They appear to be approaching us. How many? 15,000 and still launching. Vakros would have laughed if his species could. 15,000 toys against our fleet? They cannot even dent our shields. He was wrong about one thing. They weren't toys. Each ugly little ship carried a Zarathi FTL drive, modified by human hands into a bomb. They didn't need to dent the shields. They just needed to get close. The first wave hit 3 days later. The Zarathi weapons easily destroyed hundreds of human ships. Their beams cut through the primitive armor like it was paper. But there were so many. For every one destroyed, 10 more kept coming. Then the first one reached a Zarathi cruiser. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface. The modified FTL drive didn't just explode, it tore a hole in space itself. The cruiser crumpled like aluminum foil, then vanished into a momentary black hole. Impossible, Vakros breathed. They weaponized our own technology? More impacts, more explosions. The human ships didn't try to fight. They just flew straight at their targets, piloted by AI programs written by grieving programmers who'd lost everything. Each ship was named after a dead city: New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, each one carrying vengeance at the speed of light. On Earth, the Zarathi occupation force watched their fleet burn in the sky. Commander Thax tried to maintain order, but his troops were beginning to panic. They'd been told humans were primitive. They'd been told the war was over. The humans on Earth knew Operation Locust had begun. They rose from their hiding places like an army of ghosts, not to fight, not yet, but to send a message. In every occupied city, at exactly the same moment, speakers hidden in rubble began to play. Not music, not propaganda. The recorded voices of 2 billion dead. Their last messages, their dying screams, all mixed into a symphony of horror that echoed through empty streets. The psychological effect was immediate. Zarathi soldiers who'd never faced real resistance in their long lives began to break. Some shot at shadows, others huddled in their bases refusing to patrol. But humanity wasn't done with psychological warfare. Dr. Susan Blake on Europa activated her masterpiece. Using the quantum entanglement network she'd hacked, she began broadcasting directly into Zarathi minds. Not messages, memories. She'd extracted the dying thoughts of human victims from recovered neural implants and now pumped them directly into alien consciousness. Every Zarathi suddenly experienced what it felt like to watch your children burn, to see your world end, to die in nuclear fire. 30% of the occupation force went insane in the first hour. The Zarathi Empire had never experienced this. They were used to enemies who fought with honor, who followed rules, who surrendered when beaten. Humans didn't follow rules. Humans fought with spite. In the asteroid belt, miners who'd spent months pretending to be dead revealed their true project. They'd strapped engines to asteroids, hundreds of them. Now those rocks were accelerating toward Zarathi positions, each one a kinetic weapon that would hit like a nuclear bomb. The Zarathi fleet, already dealing with the locust swarm, now had to track hundreds of rocks coming from all directions. Their point defense systems could stop most of them, but not all. The first asteroid hit the Zarathi command carrier. It had been painted with a message in languages from across Earth, from our children to yours. Sarah Chen watched from Luna Base as humanity's improvised weapons tore into the alien fleet. But she was waiting for something specific. The virus Dr. Tanaka had planted was spreading through Zarathi systems, but it needed a trigger. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out. "The Mars Ghost Fleet reports Phase 2 ready." Phase 2 was the cruelest part. The virus would activate fully, but only in ships trying to jump to FTL. Any Zarathi ship attempting to flee would find its engines turning into bombs. "Let them run," Sarah said coldly. "Then blow them to hell." The Zarathi tried to retreat. 100 ships powered up their FTL drives to escape the swarm of human weapons. 100 ships exploded from the inside. Their own technology turned against them. But the true horror of human revenge was just beginning to reveal itself. Every human child born after the invasion was being raised with one purpose: destroy the Zarathi. 6-year-olds learned chemistry by making explosives. 10-year-olds studied alien anatomy to know where to cut. Teenagers trained in captured Zarathi technology, their young brains adapting to it faster than the aliens thought possible. In the ruins of Berlin, a group of these children, led by a 14-year-old girl named Ava, demonstrated what this meant. They'd spent weeks studying a captured Zarathi tank, not to use it, to improve it. When Zarathi reinforcements arrived to reclaim it, it exploded with 3 times its designed power, taking out an entire city block of alien troops. Eva survived. She was already working on the next weapon. The Zarathi had made a fundamental error. They thought destroying human civilization would make humans weaker. Instead, it had stripped away everything that held human violence in check. No laws, no morals, no limits, just pure crystallized vengeance. Commander Thack sent an emergency transmission to the Empire's core worlds. Request immediate evacuation. Humans are not defeating us. They are becoming something else, something worse. They are turning into us, but without mercy. His request was denied. The Empire couldn't admit defeat to primitives, so the slaughter continued. Human ships, ugly and crude, swarmed through space like angry wasps. Each destroyed Zarathi vessel was immediately scavenged. its technology stolen and perverted into new weapons. Humans weren't just fighting the Zerathi, they were eating them, technologically speaking, becoming stronger with each kill. The Ghost Fleet's AI systems were learning too. Each attack taught them more about Zerathi tactics. The swarm was evolving in real time, becoming more efficient killers with every passing hour. On Earth, resistance cells received new weapons built from salvaged alien technology. Guns that fired through Zerathi shields, bombs that disrupted their communications, poisons designed specifically for their biology. But perhaps the cruelest development came from the children. A 10-year-old boy in Japan named Kenji had lost his parents in the first attack. For 6 months, he'd studied captured Zerathi communication devices. He discovered something the adult scientists had missed. Zerathi had perfect memory. They couldn't forget, so Kenji created a virus. Not a computer virus, a memory virus. Using their own communication network, he transmitted the combined trauma of 2 billion human deaths directly into their permanent memory. Every Zerathi who received it would remember dying 2 billion times forever. The virus spread through the occupation force in days. Zerathi soldiers collapsed, overwhelmed by memories of deaths they'd never experienced. Some clawed their 6 eyes out trying to stop seeing. Others simply shut down, their minds broken by the weight of so much death. Sarah Chen received reports of all this with cold satisfaction. But she was thinking bigger. Luna Base had been building something in secret. Not a weapon, a statement. "It's ready, Commander," her chief engineer reported. On the lunar surface, hidden under camouflage, sat humanity's message to the galaxy. A mass driver, but not aimed at the Zerathi fleet. It was aimed at deep space, at the Zerathi Empire's core worlds. "Launch it," Sarah ordered. A projectile fired into the void, not at light speed, but fast enough. It would take years to reach its destination, but it would reach it. And when it did, the Zerathi homeworld would receive humanity's real message. A probe containing the brain scans of every human who died in the invasion, programmed to broadcast their dying moments on every frequency forever. The Zerathi would never escape what they'd done. The battle for Earth's orbit had turned into a massacre. The Locust swarm had lost 8,000 ships, but they'd destroyed a third of the Zerathi fleet. The survivors were traumatized, infected with memory viruses, afraid to use their own technology in case the humans had sabotaged it. And still, the humans kept coming. From hidden factories on every world humanity had touched, new weapons emerged. Not sophisticated, not elegant, just effective. Ships made from mining equipment, weapons built from farming tools, bombs crafted by children. Supreme Commander Vakros, watching his fleet burn, finally understood the truth. The Zerathi had been right. Humans were too dangerous to exist, but they'd made one mistake. They'd failed to kill them all. And now, like an infection spreading through the galaxy, humanity's rage was growing. Every dead Zerathi ship was reverse-engineered. Every piece of captured technology was improved and weaponized. Every human child was raised as a living weapon. The first Zerathi colony world to fall was called Theron Prime. It took humanity exactly 17 minutes to crack it open like an egg. Admiral Jennifer Chen, Sarah's daughter, born in the Luna Base medical bay 3 months after Earth burned, stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship. She was 25 now, raised in war, educated in vengeance. She'd never known Earth before the burning. She only knew the mission. "Admiral, we're exiting FTL in 30 seconds, her navigation officer announced. The ship around her was a monstrosity by any civilized standard. The Prometheus was built from the corpses of 40 Zerathi vessels, their technology ripped apart and reassembled by human hands into something the galaxy had never seen. It was ugly, asymmetrical, and absolutely lethal. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. Behind the Prometheus, 300 vessels of similar design waited. The Revenge Fleet, they called it. Every ship named after a dead human city. "Exit FTL. Begin immediately," Jennifer ordered. They appeared in Theron Prime's orbit without warning. The Zerathi colony had defenses, shields that could withstand conventional bombardment for months, but humans didn't use conventional weapons anymore. The Prometheus fired a single projectile, a modified FTL drive wrapped in the reality-bending technology the Zerathi themselves had invented. It passed through the shields like they weren't there. When it hit the planet's surface, it didn't explode. It imploded, creating a temporary singularity that pulled a chunk of the planet's core into itself. Theron Prime cracked. Magma erupted from the wound. The planet's rotation destabilized. Within minutes, the surface was uninhabitable. Within hours, it would tear itself apart. Broadcast the message, Jennifer ordered. On every frequency and every language the Zerathi used, humanity's response played. You destroyed one world. We will destroy 50. No mercy was given. None will be received. The Zerathi Empire, spanning 50 star systems, suddenly realized the war wasn't over. It was just beginning. On the Zerathi homeworld, the Parliament of Six Eyes convened an emergency session. They'd ruled for 10,000 years. They'd never faced a crisis like this. How did primitives reach Theron Prime? The first speaker demanded. They stole our technology, the war minister replied. But that's not the worst part. They improved it. Their FTL is faster than ours now. Cruder, yes, but faster. Impossible. It took us 3,000 years to develop. Humans did it in 1 year. They have a gift for destruction we didn't anticipate. The second speaker's six eyes focused on different data streams. There's more. We're detecting human ships throughout our territory. They must have been planting them for months, it was true. While the Zerathi focused on Earth, humanity had sent sleeper ships in all directions. Small, silent vessels that drifted through space, powered down, invisible. Now they were waking up. In the Zerathi system of Kalos, a mining operation suddenly exploded. The humans had hidden a ship inside an asteroid waiting. In the agricultural world of Demeter, the entire harvest was poisoned. A single human ship had released a biological agent designed specifically to destroy Zerathi food supplies. In the military shipyard of Vulcan Station, 20 new warships under construction detonated simultaneously. Humans had infiltrated the supply chain, hiding bombs in basic components. The Zerathi Empire was under attack from within, but the real nightmare was what humanity had become. On Earth, now free from Zerathi occupation after the alien forces fled to defend their homeworlds, Dr. Yuki Tanaka unveiled Project Nemesis. She'd spent a year studying Zerathi biology, their technology, their culture. She'd found their greatest weakness, their navigation network. The Zerathi Empire was connected by quantum beacons, instantaneous communication nodes that allowed their vast civilization to function. Every ship, every station, every world was linked. We can't destroy the network, Yuki explained to Earth's new war council, but we can poison it. She held up a device no larger than a briefcase. This is a quantum virus. Once it enters their network, it will replicate endlessly. Every beacon will become a bomb. We can destroy their entire empire with the push of a button. General Marcus Webb, now Earth's Supreme Commander, studied the device. How many do we have? 300, each one targeting a different part of their network. Deploy them all. The virus spread through the Zerathi network like fire through dry grass. Within days, their navigation beacons began to malfunction. Ships trying to jump to FTL found themselves lost in space. Communications became garbled with human voices, the dying screams of Earth's billions playing endlessly. The Zerathi tried to shut down the network, but the virus had evolved, learning from their attempts to stop it. It was part human code, part Zerathi technology, and part something else, pure malevolence given digital form. Jennifer Chen's fleet appeared at the second Zerathi world, Proxys 7. This time they didn't destroy it immediately. They gave the population 3 hours to evacuate. Why? Her tactical officer asked. They didn't give us warning. Because we're not them, Jennifer replied. We're worse. We want them to run. We want them to spread fear. We want every Zerathi in the galaxy to know we're coming. The evacuation ships fled Proxys 7 as humanity's fleet watched. Then exactly 3 hours after the warning, the planet cracked open. Another world dead. The message that followed was simple. 48 more to go. The Zerathi Empire tried to negotiate. They sent messages offering reparations, offering to rebuild Earth, offering anything to stop the slaughter. Earth's response came from a 13-year-old girl named Maya, who'd been chosen to speak for the younger generation, the ones who'd grown up in the ruins. You killed our parents when we were children, she said, her young voice broadcast across the galaxy. You made us into weapons. You cannot unmake us now. Every human child knows your name. Every human child knows what you did. And every human child has sworn the same oath. The Zarathi Empire will cease to exist. The war entered its second year. Humanity's fleets appeared everywhere, striking without pattern or mercy. They didn't occupy worlds, they destroyed them. They didn't take prisoners. They left warnings written in radioactive glass. The Zarathi military, once proud and invincible, began to collapse. Not from losses, though those were mounting, but from fear. Their soldiers had never faced an enemy that didn't value its own survival. Human ships would ram larger vessels if their weapons failed. Human soldiers would detonate themselves rather than be captured. On the Zarathi fortress world of Shield Prime, defended by 1 million soldiers and orbital platforms that had never been breached, humanity demonstrated their evolution. They didn't attack with ships. They attacked with children. 50 human teenagers, their brains modified to interface directly with Zarathi technology, were smuggled onto the planet in supply crates. Once inside, they didn't fight. They simply touched the fortress's central computer. Their minds, trained since childhood to think in ways that broke Zarathi logic, overwhelmed the system. The fortress's own defenses turned inward. Automated systems began killing Zarathi soldiers. Doors sealed, trapping aliens in rooms that vented atmosphere. The orbital platforms turned their guns on the planet below. Shield Prime destroyed itself while the children sat in a circle, holding hands, their young minds coordinating the slaughter with the efficiency of a hive mind. Only one message was transmitted from the ruins. The children of Earth send their regards. The Zarathi Parliament met again, this time in a bunker deep beneath their capital. We must use the extinction protocol, the war minister said. Destroy Earth's sun. Kill them all. We can't, the science minister replied. They've scattered. There are humans on 1,000 worlds now. They're breeding faster than we can track them. They're adapting to environments that would kill us. Then we make peace, and they don't want peace. The first speaker's eyes showed desperation. Don't you understand? We created the perfect enemy. They learned everything from us. How to kill without mercy, how to destroy without hesitation. But they added something we never had. What? Love. They're not destroying us because they hate us. They're destroying us because they loved what we took from them. That love has become poison. It drives them harder than any ideology ever could. The human fleet appeared at the 3rd Zarathi world, then the 4th, then the 5th. Each time they gave the same 3-hour warning. Each time the planet died exactly on schedule. But humanity's true weapon wasn't their fleets or their viruses or their child soldiers. It was time. Humans lived short lives compared to the Zarathi. But they bred faster. They learned faster. They adapted faster. For every year that passed, humanity grew stronger while the Zarathi grew weaker. The children born after the invasion were different. They thought in quantum mechanics. They interfaced with alien technology instinctively. They felt no fear, only purpose, and there were millions of them. The Zarathi Empire, which had stood for 10,000 years, was being eaten alive by a species that had only achieved spaceflight 2 centuries ago. They'd been right to fear humanity. They just hadn't feared them enough. The 3 Zarathi homeworlds hung in space like jewels, protected by the largest fleet ever assembled. 50,000 ships, every remaining vessel the Empire could muster. After 3 years of war, this was all that remained of their once mighty civilization. Admiral Jennifer Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, now scarred from 100 battles. She was 28, ancient by the standards of humanity's new warriors. Behind her stood her command staff. The oldest was 30, the youngest barely 15. Final count? She asked. 800 ships, Admiral, her tactical officer reported, plus the specials. 10 vessels crewed entirely by children under 16, their minds so adapted to Zarathi technology they could think in quantum probabilities. They scared even other humans. The enemy fleet? 50,000 as expected. They've pulled everything back for the last stand. Jennifer nodded. The math was impossible. 50,000 against 800. But humans had stopped caring about math. Signal the fleet. Begin Operation Judgment Day. The first phase was simple. Hundreds of small drones, no bigger than basketballs, shot forward at near light speed. The Zarathi destroyed most of them, but not all. The survivors attached to Zarathi hulls and began broadcasting. Not weapons or viruses, but messages. Every communication system in the Zarathi fleet suddenly filled with voices. 2 billion human voices speaking in unison. We are the dead of Earth. You killed us without mercy, without warning, without reason. Now we return the favor. The psychological attack was devastating. Zarathi soldiers who'd spent 3 years fighting humans, 3 years of nightmares and horror, began to crack. Some abandoned their posts. Others opened fire on their own ships, driven mad by the voices of the dead. Then came the children. The 10 special ships accelerated past the human fleet, their child crews linked in a neural network that turned them into a single consciousness. They didn't attack with weapons. They attacked with their minds. Every piece of Zarathi technology within a light minute suddenly went insane. Navigation systems showed ships flying through solid matter. Weapon systems targeted empty space while ignoring real threats. Life support systems began producing poison instead of air. The children had learned to think like Zarathi computers, then learned to think in ways that broke them. The Zarathi fleet, 50,000 ships strong, began to tear itself apart, but humanity wasn't done. From the outer system, moving at 20% the speed of light, came the rocks, hundreds of asteroids that humans had been accelerating for 2 years, each one aimed at the Zarathi homeworlds. The fleet could stop some. They couldn't stop them all. Supreme Commander Vakros, the same who'd overseen Earth's destruction 4 years ago, watched his empire's death approach. His 6 eyes, once proud, now showed only despair. "Send the surrender," he ordered. "Supreme One, send it. Unconditional, total. Maybe they'll show mercy." The surrender message reached the human fleet. Jennifer Chen read it aloud to her bridge crew, some of whom had been infants when Earth burned. "They offer unconditional surrender," she said. "They beg for mercy. They promise to serve humanity for eternity if we spare them." The bridge was silent. Then the youngest crew member, a girl of 15 who'd never known Earth before the burning, spoke. "Did they accept our surrender when we begged? Did they show mercy when our children cried?" Jennifer turned to communications. "Send them Earth's last message." 4 years ago, as Earth burned, a little girl in Tokyo had tried to call her father. The message had been recorded, transmitted into space. "Daddy, the sky is on fire. I'm scared. Please come home." She'd died seconds later. That message now played on every Zarathi frequency. Then Jennifer spoke. "You gave us the same choice once. Quick termination or slow extinction. You chose for us. Now we choose for you." The human fleet attacked, but they didn't aim for quick termination. The battle lasted 18 hours. The Zarathi fought with the desperation of the doomed, but their technology betrayed them at every turn. The children in the special ships had corrupted their entire technological base. Weapons fired backward. Shields protected the wrong directions. Ships jumped to FTL only to emerge inside their own sun. When it ended, the Zarathi fleet was gone. 50,000 ships reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The 3 homeworlds remained, defenseless. Jennifer Chen looked at the blue-green spheres below. 13 billion Zarathi lived on those worlds. Civilians, children, innocents who'd had nothing to do with Earth's destruction. "Admiral," her weapons officer said quietly, awaiting orders. The human fleet waited. 800 ships that had traveled across the galaxy for this moment. Every human aboard had lost family to the Zarathi. Everyone had been raised on stories of Earth's burning. "Connect me to all ships," Jennifer ordered. Her image appeared on every human vessel. 4 years ago, they came to Earth without warning. They killed 2 billion people in an hour. They told us we were too dangerous to exist. She paused. They were right. We are dangerous. We are vengeful. We are everything they feared. The crews listened in silence. But we are also something they are not. We are human. We remember our dead not just with hatred but with love. We remember what Earth was before the burning, a world of art and music, of families and hope. She looked at the Zarathi worlds below. If we destroy these worlds, we become them. We become the monsters who kill without mercy. Our children will grow up knowing we committed genocide. She straightened. So we will not destroy them. Confusion rippled through the fleet. We will do something worse. Computer, initiate protocol eternity. The special ships crewed by the quantum-thinking children moved forward. They didn't fire weapons. Instead, they released a cloud of nanomachines, trillions upon trillions of microscopic devices that settled over the Zarathi worlds like snow. The nanomachines didn't kill. They built. Within hours, every Zarathi city had a human monument at its center, massive black obelisks reaching into the sky. Each one displayed the names of Earth's dead, 2 billion names scrolling endlessly. Each one broadcast their voices, their final messages, their dying screams. The monuments couldn't be destroyed. The nanomachines would rebuild them instantly. They were powered by the planet's own cores. They would stand until the stars died. But that wasn't the worst part. The nanomachines infiltrated Zarathi technology, not to destroy it, but to limit it. No Zarathi ship would ever achieve FTL again. No Zarathi weapon would ever fire beyond their own atmosphere. They were prisoners on their own worlds. "You are being left alive," Jennifer broadcast to the Zarathi worlds. Not from mercy, but as a reminder. You will watch the stars knowing you can never reach them again. Your children will ask why, and you will tell them because we woke the monsters. We attacked Earth, she paused. Humanity will watch you forever. We will build stations around your worlds. We will monitor every transmission, every birth, every death. You are not free. You are not forgiven. You are our property now, kept alive to remember what happens to those who burn our worlds. The human fleet pulled back but didn't leave. They began construction of orbital stations, eternal watchers that would guard the Zarathi forever. On Earth, rebuilt from ashes but never forgotten, children were already being born who would take shifts watching the Zarathi. It would become humanity's eternal duty, not to destroy but to never let them forget. The war was over. The Zarathi Empire was gone. But the real message wasn't for the Zarathi. 3 months later, delegations from 17 different alien civilizations arrived at Earth. They'd watched the war. They'd seen what humanity had done. They came with one message: we understand. Earth will never be threatened again. The galaxy had learned a simple truth: humans could be friends. They could be traitors. They could be partners, but they could never be victims again. In schools across human space, children learned a new motto carved into the walls of every classroom. We are the children of Earth, we remember. We survive. We never forgive. The Zarathi had been right about one thing. Humans were too dangerous to exist as slaves, so they'd chosen to exist as something else, as the galaxy's reminder that some species shouldn't be pushed, that some worlds shouldn't be burned, that some monsters, once awakened, never sleep again. 50 years passed. The Zarathi remained imprisoned on their worlds, watched by human sentinels. Each generation of Zarathi children grew up seeing the monuments, hearing the voices of Earth's dead. They learned the names, all 2 billion of them. They learned what their ancestors had done, and they learned what humanity had chosen not to do in return. Some called it mercy. Others called it the cruelest punishment imaginable: to live forever with the knowledge of what you've done. Unable to atone, unable to forget, unable to escape. The humans called it justice. Earth had responded without mercy, just as promised. But humanity's lack of mercy wasn't genocide, it was worse, it was eternal remembrance.